We've got Scoop B, Brandon Robinson of Scoop B Radio. And Brandon, I don't know if you caught that montage, but Kawhi Leonard's laugh is.
Yes, I did.
Oh, man.
Yes,
So
I did.
let's jump right into it, B. Jimmy Butler. We had the whole, Butler practice rant, and it was the opposite of Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson got on this and basically said, practice, we're talking about practice. And Butler kind of went into practice, just set it off. What is the latest with Jimmy? I'm hearing that he will be in the lineup for the Wolves this week. Is this all fixed? Will Jimmy be with the Wolves this season?
Well, he's just here so he won't get fined. When you look at that situation with Jimmy Butler, it's something that has carried over in April and has carried over till today. And he's using the basketball court as his sanctuary, as his therapist chair. And I like a motivated Jimmy going into the season because he's scaring those younger guys. He's scaring the kids. So I think that obviously he's got to start out playing, and he's going to play his way into not only his next contract in the offseason, but also to his next destination. Because there are just certain things that are done that can't be reversed, and it's going to be interesting to see what those guys do. I'm sure behind the scenes they're working it out, but, as I had been reporting all along, Houston was in the running, as was Miami, and they couldn't get it done.
Is it, as simple as this? If the Minnesota Timberwolves are winning, then Jimmy Butler's staying there, for the rest of the season. But I think that at the end of the day, Jimmy Butler's not going to be a Timberwolf next year, short of them winning the NBA championship.
That's about right. So if I'm Minnesota, I'm trying to get some assets because you look at 2011 with Denver and the New York Knicks. This reminds me so much of it, minus teammate controversy behind the scenes and almost public trade demand. So the Timberwolves ain't going to the finals. If you take that bet, I'm not your friend anymore. But I think when you look at this situation with Jimmy Butler, I like a motivated Jimmy Butler. And I mean, if you really sit and think about it, right? Jimmy's 29, 30 years old. He's playing with guys 21, 22, 23 years old, still trying to figure it out. When Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler were 22, 23, they were going deep in the playoffs. Their mindset is different. I really feel as though Wiggins, Karl Towns, and others that are on that team could learn a thing or two by not feeling comfortable. I think they're too comfortable. They were a team on the rise, kind of like a situation like the Milwaukee Bucks. You looked at them as a team on the rise, and their arrival date is a little late. That doesn't mean it'll never happen, but you like a foot up their butt by Jimmy, and then making them play. I mean, he said, if I'm not mistaken, Karl Towns is the best all-around player on that team. Wiggins is the most gifted. And he said he works the hardest. Somebody who feels as though they work the hardest, and they're also the most vocal, and they're probably one of the oldest, next to Derrick Rose, they have a right to speak. They've been there, done that, got the T-shirt and the keychain.
I like that. Brandon, when you look at the NBA season this year, as the season does open up tomorrow, you got the first game, the Sixers and the Celtics, followed by the Warriors and the Thunder. Everyone feels like this is another year that will be culminated with the Warriors raising the Larry O'Brien. What is a storyline that you could see kind of arriving this year that no one's really paying attention to? Kind of like how Jason Tatum rose to stardom last year in the playoffs and kind of led the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals, or the Sixers winning 55 games last year after years of tanking. What is this year's story that no one else sees that you do?
I think the Denver Nuggets are going to do much better than people realize. And I think that they're a top 5 team in the NBA's Western Conference.
Ooh.
Also, like the Portland Trailblazers are up there, top 6. Familiarity in this instance means that they know what each other brings to the table. Yusuf Nurkic has to step up this year. Zach Collins, I think, will do what he was supposed to do last year, but he was hurt. a lot, off and on, and didn't know his rotation. And Davis coming to the Brooklyn Nets, that frees him up to play like himself, as you saw him play in the national championship game a couple of years ago. In addition to that, I think the Lakers and LeBron James will do much better than people give them credit for. In an NBA where everybody pays attention to the Warriors, in addition to DeMarcus Cousins, who told me earlier this summer, or actually last month, that the Warriors are like Play-Doh. You can mold them into whatever you want them to be. I thought that was like a duh but ingenious moment at the same time. You pay attention to the Celtics. You pay attention to the Toronto Raptors and Kawhi Leonard's laugh. You pay attention to the Houston Rockets, whether they have all the pieces to the puzzle. And despite giving up defense, they added an offensive threat in Carmelo still to this day. I think LeBron James and the Lakers kind of go under the radar despite the big splash that they made, in addition to getting LeBron signing Lance Stevenson, who's been Harlem shaking in preseason games after making pinpoint passes. You've added Rajon Rondo, who I think is in a similar situation that Sam Cassell was in when he was in Boston and they won the championship in 2008, now with Lonzo Ball. And then, you're going to see the emergence of Kyle Kuzma as a defensive threat, as well as Brandon Ingram kind of take flight. I'm saying all that to say, while I'm saying all these things about the Lakers, everybody's paying attention to Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward's returns, the emergence of Jason Tatum last season, and people hoping that it carries over to this season. Will James Harden get a second MVP? I mean, even Giannis Antetokounmpo, will this be his MVP breakout season? LeBron kind of gets lost in that translation a little bit. I mean, it's still the Lakers and still LeBron, but everybody just thinks it's a foregone conclusion that the Warriors are the champs going into the season. And one thing I can say, as a fan, not as a person covering, is the Warriors kind of got exposed a little bit by the Houston Rockets in the Western Conference Finals. And to be quite honest with you, that Western Conference Finals could have been the NBA Finals, because the NBA Finals weren't that interesting. And I think Boston could have played the Warriors better. And I also think, don't be surprised if LeBron comes out with motivation this year, as will Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant gets lost in the sauce because he's on a super team. He's motivated. He's a free agent, and, he's got a lot to prove going into next season.
Brandon, you mentioned the fact that the Warriors got exposed. One of the reasons they got exposed was because the Rockets played some high-level defense. So is there a team in the Western Conference that has the athleticism and the length to play that kind of defense against the Warriors in a 7-game series this year?
I still think it's the Houston Rockets. You do lose Trevor Ariza. You do lose Luke Rashad Bamute. You do lose Ryan Anderson, but you gained, or rather you resigned, Capella, who's putting up, statistically, not his moves, putting up Hakeem Olajuwon stats at the power forward center position. He's going to have to step it up even more defensively. You've had Carmelo Anthony. You have a Chris Paul who, when healthy, can do a ton of things, and you still have P.J. Tucker and Eric Gordon, who were definitely spark plugs during the regular season and the playoffs, and P.J. being the glue that held everything together. That being said, I think the Houston Rockets still do have the pieces to do it. I haven't seen enough of the Los Angeles Lakers other than the preseason to really gauge it, because if you look at video, you look at social media, and people's summer workouts, everybody's an NBA champion, the way they tell it. So, it's going to be interesting. But based off of what I've seen in the Western Conference, it's definitely the Houston Rockets. In the Eastern Conference, I think it's the Boston Celtics.
When you look at the Lakers and the team they built around LeBron, you look at guys like Rondo, Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee. I know some people have been criticizing how that roster was built, but I think it might be kind of under-level genius, Brandon, because of the fact that you get a bunch of guys who can rough it up, can scuff it up, and maybe in the playoffs they can make life very difficult for teams to take some pressure off of LeBron. Do you think that was part of the strategy for the Lakers, that you bring in guys like Rondo and Lance Stevenson that maybe start taking attention away from LeBron because they're yip-yapping in guys' ears and getting a little extra physical?
I think they brought in all those pieces to definitely accommodate LeBron's skill set. I think any team that plays with LeBron, or any players that play with LeBron, they got to do one or two things. They got to do actually both of these things. They got to either run, and they got to be proficient shooters. That's why I believe that the Cavaliers ended up running the Golden State Warriors out of the gym in 2016, because The Warriors had never faced any adversity. That gave them some adversity, and they had a double-edged sword in Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. But this is not Cleveland, and this is not Kansas, Dorothy. This is Los Angeles. And I think that when you look at the Lakers this season, I like Lance Stevenson defensively. He's their Ron Artest, if you will. I like the addition of Rondo because I think Rondo and LeBron are both seasoned vets, and they have the respect of their peers. I also think that Michael Beasley proved during his time with the Knicks last season that he can produce, and I think that's going to carry over, especially him having a relationship with LeBron and being teammates with him in Miami. And I also just think that there's a young core that team already has. You're just adding veteran leadership to that team and hoping this machine moves. But I still think that the Lakers are in a phase where they're still building. You know, next season they're looking to make another splash in a way that they thought they would this season with Paul George, who had verbally committed to go to the Lakers and then in the 25th hour pulled out. And LeBron had already committed so deep into it. So I think it's a building project that's going to take time for the Lakers to be formidable. And, you know, if they don't make it to the finals this year, it's not a big deal because everybody expects that it's going to be the Warriors or the Rockets dueling it out in the Western Conference.
Let's flip it over to the Eastern Conference. The 76ers, obviously in our backyard. People can hear all the Sixers coverage this week right here on 97.3 ESPN, as we will have each game Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Saturday night right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Brandon, when you look at the Sixers, Joel Embiid has said that his goal is to win the NBA MVP and win the NBA championship this year. How attainable are those two goals for Joel Embiid and the Sixers in the 2018-19 season?
I think that those are lofty goals by Joel Embiid, and I'm not one to kill somebody's dream. I think that the Sixers definitely exceeded expectations last season. I had them pegged as an 8th seed going into the season, and some people laugh at me because you look at those bad years of 12 wins or 30 wins, and Joel being hurt, Simmons being hurt, and just post Colangelo, the whole process regime. Well, the process is processed, and now they got to process the championship. And so when you look at the Eastern Conference, wow, Boston is favored. You can't look past the Sixers, and you also can't look past the guy whose laugh we heard a little while ago, Kawhi Leonard and his Toronto Raptors. So I think for Joel Embiid being an MVP, well, you got to play more than 65 games to be in that conversation of MVP. And I also think that the Sixers have some questions that they need to answer if they're talking that championship talk, or rather Joel Embiid is talking that championship talk. Will Markelle Fultz be healthy this season? Will his shot fall? And will Ken Ben Simmons focus more on being the floor general that he is rather than just taking jumpers? I think people put too much pressure on him to be that efficient jump shooter. And, it also goes with their bench. I like Wilson Chandler. That addition to me, I think, is a steal. And I hope that J.J. Redick picks up where he left off at last season. He was a hot shooter. People think they overpaid him, but he did what he needed to do, and that's why he gets paid the big bucks.
Scoop, we're talking with Brandon Robinson at Scoop B on Twitter. That's at Scoop B on Twitter, writer for Basketball Society. Scoop, let's play devil's advocate. Let's say best case scenario, the Sixers, Markelle Fultz proves to culminate into what he was supposed to be with the number 1 pick. He averages 18, 20 points. The Sixers are a top 3 seed in the East, and they make a deep playoff run, East Conference Finals or NBA Finals, whatever. Would the rest of the league look at that and say that's the blueprint to getting back on track with your franchise? Because so many of these teams are in the middle, Scoop, where they don't have a superstar, or they have a guy that they believe should be a superstar, but he's nowhere near that. Will they go more not tanking? Because I think clear-cut tanking is going to be gone from the NBA. Adam Silver's just not going to allow it. But kind of strategic, where you're getting multiple draft picks to kind of hit on maybe 1 or 2 young players that kind of lead your franchise into the future.
I think that the NBA and building a team to be a championship caliber team, I think the Sixers follow the Oklahoma City Thunder's blueprint. When you look at the fact that they went to the 2012 finals against the Miami Heat and LeBron James and Dwayne Wade left Miami Heat, They had James Harden. They had Russell Westbrook. They had Kevin Durant. I just think money and dollar signs and things. Just, when you have three superstars on that team, somebody's got to go. Somebody's got to get paid. Somebody's got to stay, and somebody else is going to win an MVP. So to answer your question, I think that the Sixers did it by, like, I scratched my head when they traded Michael Carter-Williams. I was mad. But then you moved Drew Holiday, you moved Michael Carter-Williams, and then through that whole process, you got Joel Embiid, you drafted Ben Simmons, and then you saved calories. Excuse me, not calories. You can save calories though, but you save salary cap space. And I think that the biggest thing for the Sixers is they did it by sticking with their guns, building under the salary cap, but also identifying who the star was. Like, I was upset when they got rid of Jahlil Okafor. Now, to Jahlil Okafor's credit, I think that Philly kind of ruined him, because I think that there was a perception that he was this bad guy, and he wasn't. I just think he was a young 19-year-old kid driving fast on the Ben Franklin. And, we didn't have that luxury at 19, but he did, and he learned. And hopefully in New Orleans he recovers. And, Brooklyn, he just looked like a shell of what he could be. But I think as it relates to Philadelphia and the 76ers and what they have going on, I think that it's a case study in really buying into a system, believing in that system even when everybody thought you were crazy. And I can relate to it as a journalist. I know when I was reporting about Space Jam, a lot of y'all was looking at me like, did he have his meds today? When I looked at the Sixers, I said, what are you doing? How are we trusting the process and y'all losing? But, hey, man, they made a deep playoff run this season, and they're not so much of a secret anymore. I think that's the other thing with the Sixers. They were a secret last season. They're not a secret anymore. And Boston's caught up, and LeBron left, so now, Toronto can make some noise. I hate when they say that, but I also do think, rest in peace, Tex Winter. When you look at the Lakers and Tex Winter introducing the triangle offense to the Lakers, comparatively speaking, Nick Nurse with the Toronto Raptors introduced their offensive scheme to Dwayne Casey. And he came so highly recommended that they passed over Jerry Stackhouse. So the Sixers, Jerry Stackhouse is the head coaching candidate, and hired Nick Nurse. There's something they see in him that they like, and he's their Tex Winter in that instance.
All right, before we get you out of here, Scooping again, you can follow Brandon Robinson at Scoop B Radio. That's at Scoop B. I'm sorry, at Scoop B. Obviously, you can listen to the Scoop B Radio podcast. He's writer for Basketball Society. Does a great job. I just want to get your MVP, your most improved player, your predictions, Scoop. Let me get your MVP, your most improved player, coach of the year, and who's your NBA champion. Come on, let me get it.
Okay, MVP, I'm going to go with LeBron James.
Okay.
Rookie of the year. Don't sleep on Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks. And then who else did you say? Most
coach of the year.
Player?
Yeah, most improved player, coach of the year.
Coach of the year will be Brad Stevens. And the NBA champion will be, I hate you. I play it safe and go Warriors, even though I don't believe it. We'll go with the Warriors. We'll go Warriors. If not Warriors, we'll talk again in the spring. But, yeah, it's going to be a very exciting NBA season.
Okay. And, again, thank you, Brandon, and we look forward to talking to you soon, buddy.
Yes, sir. Talk to you soon.